And last year, she landed a small role in a film and had a scene with Jason Statham.
Jason Statham.
We were both... He seems nice. I bet he's nice.
The Statham. Former British diving champion as well. Did you know that?
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, back in the 90s.
We were both...
Is he still dating Rosie Huntington Whiteley?
Married
with kids.
Yeah.
Bloody family.
I love that there's a film coming out called The Accountant 2, and it's a serious film.
Yes.
Just got invited to a screening, which unfortunately we can't make, otherwise we would go. But it's like, really? That's a film? That's a title you're going to put a 2 in front of? And it's a serious film?
What would you prefer?
Well, I don't know. I've not seen The Accountant 1, but you'd be like, colon.
The Accountant Counts Again.
Algorithm.
Tax return.
Gone wrong.
The Accountant. The tax return.
Yeah. Algorithm. Well, it's like a sort of spy espionage. Algorithm. Downfall. Oh, sorry. Accountant downfall.
It's not very...
I'm not saying that's better. I just mean like anything.
I'm just surprised you got a sequel. Didn't even see the first one. I read the synopsis just now, and it was like John Bernthal plays his estranged lethal brother. I'm like, brilliant. What? Yeah. Did they just open a desk drawer full of cliches?
Does John Bernthal do any other role?
I'm going to go for that one. I think we'll go for that one, okay?
I reckon that character's got like a violent... Maybe he's been to jail.
Yeah.
And he's had a violent past. And the accountant is like the straight and narrow. And his crazyisms have manifested like a very organised... killer accountant.
Yeah, and his brother's like the sales department.
Yeah, well, he's sort of got the tattoos and he's been in prison, but now they're going to come together and they're going to bring out the best and worst sides of each other. I kind of want to see it.
Should we?
Sold.
Should we go? James, I'm back from Hollywood.
Oh, you were.
Guys,
I've been waiting to hear all about it.
And I will be giving you the full debrief. Guys, if you haven't checked on the socials, I went to Hollywood last week. It was a lovely trip with Sony, and James was unavailable, but I have gone and given the full, I've got my details and my dispatches and I don't know what I'm saying. Let me start again. I've gone and I've got the full debrief for you, and I'm going to put that out for us on as another clip this week. So check the feed, and I'll be telling you all about the tales of Hollywood in LA.
You saw some very cool things by the looks of it.
Absolutely. Some really interesting. We had a tour of the Sony Pictures lots. I've got lots of film and TV specific things, some technical, some creative stuff that I really want to share. And also just being in Hollywood for the first time. We've never been to the West Coast before. The fact that, it's the first time in California, just seeing the Hollywood sign, how amazing that was. 72 hours in LA. It's a tight little squeeze. I don't know what time zone I was in by the end of it.
How bad was the jet lag when you were out there?
Here's the thing, James, not too bad. When I first landed, when I landed on the day,
we are
8 hours ahead. So we landed in the afternoon. I didn't really sleep on the flight because it was a day flight. But what I did, you just power through to the evening, and then we had a massive meal. They fed us very well. A massive meal which was high in meat. It was a very meaty meal, which then made me incredibly sleepy. So I made it to about 10:30, and I hit the wall.
That's 6 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. There was literally a bit. So we went because in James's absence, we took our agent Dylan with us, and there's a bit where I looked at him at dinner. I said, "It's 5:30 right now at home," and so I went back to the hotel, full of meat, ready to sleep, like you do when you're a child when you've had a really big meal.
Yeah.
Then I had some melatonin, slept all the way through. So the next day, I felt fresh as a daisy. To be honest, I felt pretty much fine. I would say the day I landed in London on Saturday, horrific.
Yeah.
After that, not too bad. Because I don't think I was in LA long enough to really suffer from it. Also, the flight, it's one of those things that, like, I think I've had worse jet lag in New York because the flight's shorter and it doesn't quite work. But I don't know, it's
actually
something about
when
LA.
It's even further. It's
it
like,
gives you time to...
So I weirdly, when I went to Bali and the Gili Islands, which other side of the planet, no jet lag.
No jet lag at all?
No.
Here's what I think helps. Sunshine. So if you go to a place with sunshine, it immediately helps your body adjust and acclimatise.
So I only went for like 8 days, which is not usually when you go for like a much longer time. And I then, after that, immediately went to New York.
Ooh.
And in New York, I was definitely
Just
tired.
look at you, James.
I know.
It
was
a terrible week. I had to go to this thing.
Yeah. But anyway, I got there and I was like, oh God, I didn't realise I'm going to be really jet lagged. And every morning I'd wake up at like 7, fine time to wake up. Everyone's like, how are you feeling? And I was like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But my advice to you was like, you should sort of Superman yourself and look at the sun, spend
Yeah.
some time.
Oh, no, absolutely, yeah.
Just letting your body go, right, the sun's there.
I've heard that. They say don't wear sunglasses in your first couple of days to
heard
help.
this too.
You know.
Apparently
Don't stare at the sun. That's still bad
Don't-
for you.
Not medical advice. But no, apparently it's good if the sun is shining and you leave the house, let's say on a commute or to go get your morning cup of coffee. The instinct is to have the sunglasses, but actually if you can spend 20
Circadian
minutes
rhythms.
out in the sun, apparently that really like helps you feel more awake than the coffee ever would.
There you go. So, American coffee, guys,
God.
USA people, you've got to get it together
Look,
because look, I've had great like filter black coffee in America, and it has its place. But I have to say, I thought LA would be like coffee culture, like Euro type coffee culture.
The iced coffee is the thing. We have to thank LA for the iced coffee, to which I
you know
drink
what?
every week.
And the iced beverages in LA, the smoothies, the juices, the iced coffee, thumbs up. The coffee, hot coffee, like battery acid.
They don't get the creamy, flat white cappuccino experience that we've come to know and love.
We do sound incredibly privileged at the moment, but
I do think the sort of there's this style of cafe coffee culture, like the Aussie style cafe with the avocado on toast with all the picky bits on it. That has become very globalized now, for better or worse.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like wherever I am in the world, there's usually that style of cafe has become like the social media trendy version of. I'm sure there is like stuff like that in America, but yeah, like they do coffee in big things. Like, I kind of enjoy it, like a big iced thing with caramel and cold brew. I love cold brew, but I wouldn't have gone to LA and ordered a frothy milk coffee.
but I wanted to have faith, and I did order one.
Yeah.
It was $7.
Yeah.
Anyway, so check your feed later this week for my full description and detailing of my tales in LA. I'll talk about all the film things we did. It was really exciting. I think if you're regular listeners to the show, you'll love the experience I had walking around the Sony Pictures lot.
Beautiful.
But James, of course, because it's an international trip, we have to talk about the film viewing on the plane. Now,
Yes.
so it's a day flight on the way out and a night flight on the way back.
Okay.
Give you context. I felt there was a real broad spread of people on the flight. Okay, I'm talking like, so in terms of there's some people there for work, there's some people there on holidays. You know, there was one guy I was looking at him when we flew out from the London side. I was like, oh, you're definitely like a cinematographer because he had his like kit and stuff. He was like 60. He had like a face that looked like he had been in the desert shooting with PTA.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
for ages.
yes.
And I was like, oh, you're going out for a job. I like this.
Cargo shorts.
So.
Were there films of note that stood out?
I'm going to be honest with you. Unlike other trips, I think it was really hard to get a consensus of what people were landing on.
I like to think you were just
film-wise.
walking the aisles with a clipboard.
Yeah, I was.
Noting down.
I was noting.
Yeah.
I think it was hard to get a consensus, but there are two films I think are noteworthy. Do you want to have a ballpark guess of what you think these films could be?
These good films.
One of them is.
One of them's bad.
Yes.
It's the bad one. Venom 3.
It's exactly that, Jason.
Venom
It's
3.
a Venom 3. Yeah. Venom The Last Dance. Basically, just choose a blockbuster film that came out in the last 4 months. That's what people will be watching on a flight.
I've seen a lot of Venoms on planes.
Yeah.
The 2s, 3s. It's sort of it fits that mildly entertaining, but if you never sort of finish it, you can die not being stressed.
Yeah, it's diverting. It's brightly coloured, and there's lots happening. So that's fine. So a lot of people watching that.
Great.
And then what do you think the other one was?
Film. Is it how recent we're talking? Is it like in the new releases band of the TV?
Yes.
In the new releases band. Okay. Is it from this year?
Yes.
It's a good film.
Shall I give you a big clue?
Yeah, go on.
It featured heavily in our game last week.
Oh, The Brutalist.
It was The Brutalist.
Oh, interesting.
I saw a couple of people sitting down for The Brutalist, and I thought, fair play, because this is a 10.5-hour flight. You can watch The Brutalist 3 times if you wanted to.
On one hand, you're like, oh, really? But also, when is there another good time to watch it?
Yeah, and these people look like they were locked in. To be fair,
Yeah.
they were engaged.
I'm just concerned that, you're watching Adrian Brody, drama, art, spectacle,
VistaVision.
Guy Pearce, VistaVision, and all of a sudden it's like, we'll be landing in LA.
I have to say, they were quite sparing with the tannoy announcements.
That could be really annoying.
Of course.
It could be really annoying. And there was a time when you couldn't pause your film. Do you remember? It was like, years ago when you used to
just
watch
keep
a film,
playing, yeah.
It was like there were 9 channels.
Yeah.
And if you caught the film at the right time, it was like just the right, it was like television.
It wasn't on demand. It was you had to be in,
It was like there was an organised sort of run of play for each channel, and if you couldn't just like go back 20 seconds if you wanted. It was a different time we grew up in.
But that was interesting. I thought. I tell you what I did see, which I thought that guy's a vibe. Right at the back of the plane.
Oh yeah.
Middle row.
Oh yeah.
Guy, big headphones in. This guy's probably in his 50s, 60s. Two cans of beer.
Yeah.
He's bobbing his head. He's rocking out, just looking at the flight map. This is about 2 hours into the movie, and he's just like, he's got the flight map for him, and I'm like, I want your flight, my man.
You stare at him half an hour just to see the plane go.
Yeah.
A tiny little inch across the screen.
My friend is exactly the same though. He recently flew to China. Watch the flight map the entire way.
So I will
not like any of like raw dogging thing.
No, yeah.
He just likes the flight map.
I provide my own entertainment on an iPad, right?
Yeah.
But I will leave the flight map up.
Yes.
Because I like to, if I wake up from a nap, it's quite good to know if
Where
you
I
don't
am.
set a timer, like how was I asleep for an hour or 6?
Yeah.
Like how much longer am I in this for? And so it's good to say, oh, okay, I'm still over the Atlantic. I'm not yet coming into New York, and I can just check.
Yeah.
Because it can be really disorienting.
But James, would you like to know what I watched on the flights?
Always.
So, flight out. Obviously, because we do this show, new releases, not really good for me. I've seen them all. So actually, there was one I watched. I watched the Pharrell Lego biopic that he made of himself. Do you remember this?
Yes.
It was called Piece by Piece. Very fun, creative, enjoyable, interesting, quite inspiring. But I would say it still had a tinge of, I'm Pharrell, the creative genius, and I've made this wonderful creative movie about myself.
Will.i.am vibes.
Yeah, I do think Pharrell's very talented, and I do think it's interesting. But there's something about it, the fact that he's like authored the story. It's a little bit too self-congratulatory for me, but still
not a
interesting.
bad one to say for a plane then.
Not at all, and it's 90 minutes. And it's, like I say, it's brightly coloured. It's all done in Lego. It's got a great soundtrack, obviously, because the music that he's worked on. So I did enjoy that. And then I watched an older film that's been like kicking around my Netflix watch list for years, but I've never watched. I watched the 2009 Nancy Meyers rom-com, It's Complicated, starring Meryl Streep, Alec Baldwin, and Steve Martin. Have you seen it?
I think no.
The poster is Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin post-coitus on a bed. Alec Baldwin looking and very happy. Meryl Streep looking sort of like,
boys be like, girls be like.
It's great. It's really, really good. And I was thinking when I was watching it, given my rant recently about Crazy Stupid Love, I'm like, that's a better Crazy Stupid Love movie. Because it's about a divorced couple who have grown-up children who start having an affair with each other. Alec Baldwin has his own family now. Yeah, and Meryl Streep and Alec Baldwin start striking things up again. Even though Meryl Streep kind of wants to move on with her life, she's got Steve Martin kicking around. Steve Martin is playing actually quite a straight character. He's not the comedic foil. He's really sweet in it. That's really nice. Meryl Streep, obviously wonderful. Alec Baldwin, I think, actually nails this film.
Yeah.
It's one of his best performances because he gets the smarmy charm just right. Like, he's enjoyable watching how slick he is. It's like, but you kind of do sympathise with him bits. You don't just dislike him, but he is a nice antagonist.
Someone you can imagine divorcing, but also got a charm about them.
Yeah, exactly. You can see both why Meryl Streep married and divorced this person.
Yes, yeah.
And if you like 30 Rock, that's like the kind of era that it was in. So I love that. You've also got small parts from John Krasinski and Zoe Kazan just sort of turn up. You go, a lovely movie. I was watching, I was like, this is delightful. And a rom-com, a sexy rom-com about people in their 50s, over the 50s, having sex and doing that. And it was a mainstream thing. And I'm like, I love this movie. This is really good. So if you've seen It's Complicated, let me know.
And a sort of a light, easygoing touch for a film. You're not doubling down for the brutalist if that's not your vibe.
No,
you just want to have
for a plane. Perfect. It's, because it's 2009, it was shot with that, everything looked like honey. Everyone was just shot with that kind of like dewy glow because it was everything, all those rom-coms were still made by the studios then.
Yes. You're not going to be mad if someone asks you to choose your bread.
No,
that's fine.
No.
Oh,
but do you know what I mean? Also, like the film, it's not like Anyone But You, where you said it like had 6 people in it. It was filmed in an Airbnb. This is actually like a big budget Hollywood studio where you have outdoor scenes and like big wedding scenes.
I'd be interested if you watch Anyone But You and you get that vibe, especially when they just start filming angles in the garden.
Actually, some people did watch Anyone But You on the plane. Some people did. I saw some of those around.
There's a good funny plane moment.
Anyway, like we said, if you wanted to catch up on all of my Hollywood antics, stay tuned for the rest of this week. Last last week we reviewed Death of a Unicorn, which we weren't that much of a fan of. But if you haven't checked out James's interview with Will Poulter, what a good delight he was by the looks of it.
Lovely, lovely guy. I kind of secretly, based on my impression of him, knew he'd be really sweet
Yeah.
and just easygoing and not take himself too seriously and a good laugh, and he totally was. We talked about silly things to do with the movie and the movie itself. Shorts, whether or not you should wear them, just like snorting unicorn horns. It was fun. Really, really nice guy.
So check that out on the feed or on the social media pages if you haven't done already. But today, we've got another A24 movie.
With
Really
Will Poulter.
Cracking out. Yeah, another A24 movie.
I said to Will Poulter, because I'd spoken to the cast of this film, Warfare, on the same day. And originally Will Poulter was going to be doing both Drunkers, but they didn't, because obviously he couldn't be in two places at once. And I said to Will Poulter, I said, interesting, I've just spoken to your Warfare co-stars, and this is another film where a bunch of characters are held ransom inside a building, but these are two completely different films. And I was like, oh yeah, you have a really like obvious contrast between light and dark in your films. Is that a conscious decision? Because actually, when you put it on paper, they're very similar.
What did he say?
He was like, yeah, he's been really lucky. Go and check out the things. Like, I've been really lucky to have been offered both funny and comedic and serious roles.
Yeah, that's true.
And then he's been able to balance the two. And he said some of his favorite actors have been able to balance the two. And so he wants to sort of like hopefully model himself after that, which I think is quite a nice answer.
Yes, so we'll be talking about Warfare. That's the film of the week, Warfare. And we'll get into our review of that, plus some emails and a game.
And guys, if you wanted to check out our Patreon, I have a feeling our discount will still be running until a day. If you catch this episode early, you can still get it. But we had been running a 50% discount on our Patreon. You just use the code PULP50. Thank you to everyone who joined us for the last week and enjoyed that discount. But if you haven't already, we do an exclusive Patreon show called Double Take, which is our weekly news show. Last week we talked all about the Avengers Doomsday cast. This week we talked about the Beatles casting, Mission Impossible trailer, Naked Gun trailer, the Fountain of Youth trailer,
the David Fincher directing a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
that as well.
Mental news.
That. Unfortunately, we lost Val Kilmer this week, so we just talked and celebrated his career. So all of that is and more is available, and that's the best way to support what we do. If you love what we do, and you want a little bit more theories, news, analysis, macroeconomics, and the weather.
Yeah, that's the thing. Also, like it's added springtime now as well because it's outside, so you will hear the background noise of birds tweeting. So if you like that, go ahead,
go and check it out.
Anyway, shall we get on with Warfare?
Let's do it. So, Warfare. This film is co-directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. Alex Garland we know from films like Ex Machina, Annihilation, Men, Civil War most recently. He loves a big, bold, pointed title.
Yes.
Men, Civil War.
Yeah.
Ex Machina, not so much, but Warfare.
Warfare,
it's like big
State of the
face.
Nation. Here we go.
State of the Nation. This is a dual-directed film, which you don't see that often outside of like the classic duos. But this is the story of Ray Mendoza, set in 2006 in Iraq during the Iraq War. This follows a mission that has gone wrong for a platoon of American Navy SEALs. We're opened with a statement that says, "This is a true story." Not based on. This is a true story, and it is something like this has been recalled by memory from the people who were there. And so you get the sense that this is like a really detailed retelling of a specific moment in time and a situation during the Iraq War. And essentially, it's this platoon of American Navy SEALs, all of whom are young men, and they are basically held in this house. The opening film starts where they are monitoring an area sort of a couple of blocks away from where they are, keeping an eye on a select number of individuals who might be a risk to them. And we have a selection of characters. The cast includes...
great cast.
Huge cast. Kit Connor, Will Poulter, we said before, Cosmo Jarvis, Joseph Quinn, Charles Melton, Michael Gandolfini, who's the son of James Gandolfini, Noah Centineo, DeFero Wunatai, Taylor John Smith. And the thing to say about this is that it plays out in real time, pretty much. Almost. It's probably like a couple of hours,
sorry, you're right,
2-3 hours. But it's essentially a one scene film. For lack of a better term. So that's basically all you need to know about the film. It's a very sort of immersive and thrilling and very tense film. And like I said, it's got a very sort of neutral pointed title in Warfare. You and I got the chance to see it on a beautiful sunny, the weather in London's fantastic right now, a springtime sunny Friday, but like at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day.
Which is quite strange.
I was always like, I was just in a criticism of the film, I was like, I was having a really nice day until I watched this film. But those are the broad strokes you need to know it's an A24 film as well. George, how did you get on with Warfare?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed enjoyed it. I think it was, a really gripping nail biter. It's basically 90 minutes long, and I think it does really well at showing the extreme contrast between like the mundane boredom of warfare in terms of waiting around, the tense time you're just waiting around, and the then extreme moments of violence and gunfire and being in a dogfight and intense conflict. I think it's like, how you feel about it might depend on where you stand. This is going to sound like a criticism. I don't really mean it to be. It is a film in that what you see is what you get, but what you see is a lot of good stuff. So, it is tightly focused, as James said, on this one setting. It is a 90-minute. You really stay with these guys. The film does not spill out into other directions. It's really just about this one sole story. And the film probably works best as a symbolic look. If you wanted to get a deeper level, a symbolic look, a microcosmic example of war bottled into one scenario. I'm not sure if it really pokes through into a deeper level, but like if you wanted to, that's probably what it's going for. But what you see is what you get. That's not a problem when you have really well shot action sequences. And I believe that Alex Garland first came across Ray Mendoza when they were working on Civil War, and Ray Mendoza was supervising and helping them shoot the action scenes, and Alex Garland really found that really interesting, so that's why he brought him on board for this. And the action, which there is a lot of when it kicks off, is incredibly well shot and is incredibly gripping and incredibly cinematic, and you feel that kind of, what people used to talk about with Saving Private Ryan. You feel the bullets flying around. You really feel like these people are in a great sense of danger, running through the street with bullets flying all around there. You just, sometimes characters would be on screen and I'd be thinking, you're so exposed. You're just, duck, get down.
How do they have the courage to go out and do covering fire?
And I really feel like it's a film that you really feel the weight of all the guns and all the equipment and all that that's happening. It's got great sound design. There's a moment where like you have cascading radio messages that are really building on it felt quite aggressive, the sound design, in a good way, and I felt like you and I were really wincing. I think the acting cast is great. Those actors we mentioned are really like a crop of some of the hottest actors right now, and they all have a role to play. I think ultimately coming out of it, I was like, if someone was to say to me, is it a great war film? I mean, that's a different conversation. I was kind of at times thinking, a great war film for me gives multiple perspectives, contextualize the conflict, really draws me into the nuances of that story. This has taken the decision to kind of bottle it and make it kind of devoid of context, because it was trying, like I said earlier, to make a symbolic purpose. It's not completely devoid of context, because it opens with them all watching the Eric Prydz Cool on Me video from 2006. So it grounds it in that time there. So I'm fine with the film doing that, but in terms of what makes a great war film for me, I think in making that decision, it slightly loses something by not grounding it in a wider thing. So this is not a film about the Iraq War. It's a film about war. It'll really, more specifically, what I'm trying to say, it's a film about warfare. That's exactly what as the title suggests. It's about warfare, which is the battle and the conflict. But war is more than warfare. War is the sort of ramifications and the implications for me, the wider network of people. So as a film about warfare, yes, good, which is fine, because that's what the title of the film is. It's not misled us. But as a war film, I think its constrained structure perhaps limits it from being anything deeper. Yeah. But what you see is what you get, and it's good.
I think for a film called Warfare, it therefore, I think, leads to that question that you're asking, which is, well, therefore, what are you trying to say in a structure which is so, not constrained, but, sure of itself? Yeah. It probably doesn't leave a lot of room to ask the questions that you might start asking yourself when you walk out of the cinema. You and I had quite a long conversation. We're like, is this pro or anti-war? Is that the point of the film, to make you ask that question? Are we proposing our own sort of like political idea, or like, should this film have a political line in the sand? And is the title of Warfare and not instead calling it like,
12 hours in so-and-so.
12 hours, or like you geolocate it as a date in time, or you make it about a person, but it's not really about a person. And so it's sort of its apoliticalness potentially, and its dryness maybe distracts from what it's trying to do. But the film itself maybe doesn't have much to say. So I agree with everything you said. I actually found it a really effective film. And it's like you say, it was a joy to watch. It was also really unpleasant to watch.
Did I say it was a joy?
Oh, you said I really enjoyed it.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
I think you found it more harrowing than I did.
I enjoyed it, but in the same way that watching something really harrowing is not necessarily enjoyable. But it's a really wonderfully effective, claustrophobic. It's definitely an assault on the ears. It's outside of a horror film, it's the most I've really held my hands to my face because I can't believe what I'm about to see, and I'm wincing at the prospect of the violence and the gore. And it's incredibly violent. The camera does not hide away from the brutal realities of war and death and injury and the stakes. And as you said, those moments where these people walk out to provide covering fire for their squad mates, you're almost just in complete disbelief at the bravery and the realism, and also how many different structures are at play and leadership dynamics. All of that is fascinating to watch as a podcaster in London in 2025, and I really do celebrate the film for that, because I think at the opening of Saving Private Ryan, it does really sort of hold your attention and showcase something. And similarly, I think all the talent are really good, and there is a sort of wonderful dry mundanity to the first half, and in the second half that totally falls apart. And I said this in my chat with some of the cast, but there's this really great expression in boxing, which is everybody's got a plan until they've been punched in the face. And it's you can organize with, you can have a game plan and you can try and outsmart them, but once you've been punched in the face, it's all of that goes out the window. Are you meant to be leading these people? How are you meant to, when you think your life's at risk, all of that is gone. It's about how these people pick up the pieces, and it's sort of like a celebration of the Navy SEAL team and what they're able to do, but also a reminder that these are young men and boys who are scared and also just trying to get through the day. So on one hand, I found it really effective as a piece of cinema. I think it's just over 90 minutes, but also it's is it constrained by its own format slightly as trying to be something else? There's never a moment when anyone it says something, this war, look what it's done to us. I'm not a writer, but there's no sort of musing on the war itself. There's no cutting away from the politicians or the decisions or any comment on nuclear weapons of mass destruction. There's none of that. It is just a moment in time about, I would read it into, these are ordinary boys, and this is the randomness and the sort of the bizarre situation that warfare puts ordinary people in, and this is what happens. Something that was so calm has all of a sudden changed. Isn't this a reminder to people at home that this is what happens? I think that's where the biggest impact of this film has. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I agree, and I think what I was thinking when I was in the movie is that this movie's been made in 2025, and the Iraq War is long over, but in 2025. You're left with just the legacy of the Iraq War and the aftermath. And so when you therefore make a movie about the Iraq War, are you obligated as a filmmaker to respect and comment and look at
engage with the politics?
Well, it's not even the politics, it's just engage with the aftermath now, because the narrative's moved on. If you're making it in the moment of the war, as a filmmaker in 2025, you should be aware of the effects of the Iraq War, the implications of it. So with that not being in the film, that's it's a decision not to have that. I'm sure actually Alex Garland A24 would say they have put commentary in that film. I would say they've made a decision not to do that, and it serves the purpose that they're trying to do, which is what you and I observe, which is this kind of symbolic focus. But I don't know how I feel about it. There's still that part of me which just thinks, have we lost something by not giving it wider context, given this movie came out in 2025?
Yes, and I think that us asking these questions after seeing this film, in its restraint to not ask anything, maybe is part of its effectiveness, because it's now asking the audience to ask those questions themselves. That might be part of its genius.
I didn't think this was the case, but I'm worried that because it doesn't have that wider attachment to the real implications of that specific war, I'm worried that some people will read it as a pure celebration of military. It find it as too hero worshipping of militaristic stuff. Yeah. So that means that could be people on the right wing who think, oh, what a great movie, look at our heroes. Could be people on the left wing who say this just glorifies the military and it hasn't given wider context. I don't feel that way, but I'm just aware that by doing the way that the film is made, it might open it up to that thing.
Yeah, because it also it doesn't. It's not like you brought up what's the face. What's it called? The cheesy Andrew Garfield one.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
And like this does not look like Hacksaw Ridge. It's incredibly neutral. There's no grade.
Yeah.
He shot it on the DJI Ronin 4D, which is the same camera used for Civil War, which can sort of like float around different spaces. It's just like it's not saying it's not creative or artistic. It's like it's making a decision to not impose some sort of like artistic lens to celebrate anything. It sounds like people shared very intricate details of who was standing where at what time and what did they do and who helped who. It's like it feels like it's been painfully recreated. I can imagine them looking at a model of this space and doing the logistics and moving bodies around and seeing how they capture it. It's not about showing something through a lens. It's like how was it as it actually was on the day, and what did they experience, and we're going to show that to an audience. And I think also a conversation maybe. I was thinking a bit. I was like, this was a real moment where real people's lives were at stake, and I'm now consuming this for entertainment. I'm not necessarily enjoying the process, but this has been packaged up as like a film to digest and just get on with my day.
You've just made me think about something, which is that, do you think Alex Garland doesn't make conversations, he just makes statements? So with men, with civil war, with warfare, he's not in, whether he's interested or not, he makes great statements, but he doesn't actually make conversations.
Yeah, Ex Machina does.
Ex Machina does. That's a different kind of film, though.
Film,
that's not trying to be, that's not
of
called Men. It hasn't
not
got
called
the kind
AI will take over.
these films with men, civil war, and warfare have these big statement titles, and I'm wondering if he. It's fine because as statements they kind of work in their own little way, but they're not.
I'd say Men was a more effective horror film.
Totally.
The statement in the last 5 minutes,
Yeah.
I think it's the worst part of the film.
I actually think it shouldn't even be called Men. Actually, that film really. Because it's not. Because I think that film, as you say, the statement, the kind of thematic stuff about men is not really
kind of underbaked
because it's Rory Kinnear's face.
It's a good
everywhere.
horror film, Men.
Yeah, it's creepy as hell. I always think I'll go to the Cotswolds next month, and I always think about Men when I'm there.
Yeah, go for a little like abandoned railroad.
Terrible. So James spoke to the cast this week, so check out our social feeds for some clips from that. But that was Warfare. It's out on Friday the 18th in the UK. Let us know your thoughts. I mean, I really enjoyed seeing the kind of the cast on screen, and it reminded me in a way a bit. I think it's a 2025 version of Black Hawk Down. You could probably say less glorified. I think that's a bit more militaristic. You get less shots of they had Mogadishu in there obviously, but I think it's solid.
It's worth a watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
watch
really
it in
do
cinema
think it's worth a watch. Oh yeah, watch it in cinema.
Your head to ring.
You're sort of gonna throw yourself around a bit by going to see it, but it's a study of like really effectively directed action and sound design and good performances. There's a lot of great things coming together, so I would see it.
And also, Call on Me by Eric Prydz. What a banger!
Yeah. Tune, huge tune.
Great tune. We just played on this thumping cinema speakers. Yeah. I was like, let me get my Shazam out. Oh, yeah. You're such a man. Yeah. Let's go on with some emails.
George, should we go through some of the emails that we get sent into the show every single week? As always, guys, if you want to send through your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, your reviews, you can do by emailing them into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. Or you can support us on the VIP tier on Patreon, where you can have priority access to have your emails read out on the show.
Just like
Martha did. Martha writes in with Death of a Unicorn. Hello, James and George. This is my first Pulp Kitchen email.
Hello,
welcome.
Martha.
Yes, welcome. Your little first email badge. I began listening about a month ago, and I'm thrilled to find a film podcast where the hosts don't annoy me.
Oh, thank goodness. I hope that doesn't change.
Good. I wonder what quality it is that isn't annoying.
I wonder if she's going to write in like 6 months' time and be like, guys, things have changed.
I don't like you after all. I'm writing in about A24's Death of a Unicorn. Interesting that it's A24's Death of a Unicorn. We don't go like Focus Features is. It's Universal's.
Yeah, you usually say the director. You go like Quentin Tarantino something.
Because A24 is like an artist.
Yeah, it's a brand.
It's a brand. Death of a Unicorn. I largely agree with your review, which you can check out from last week, but I have some thoughts I'd like to add on. Just broadly, we didn't rate the film, unfortunately. I found it sort of a bit sort of lost in genre and tone, and it's like quite silly.
Do you know what was annoying is that I really want to see a good film that has Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega, Richard E. Grant, and Will Poulter in it. That's a good cast. And Tia Leone's quite good in it as well. That's a good cast.
Yeah, it is.
I want to see Paul Rudd in an A24 movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him in that one. No.
It's the least A24 feeling movie I've seen, actually.
Yeah, it's really naff.
Whatever that like.
I think if anyone else if like a big studio put that out, everyone would be like, what is this?
Yeah. I like the wacky and unconventional state of the idea. It could have had sorry to bother you greatness, but ultimately slipped on what it chose to focus on. I found focusing on a heartfelt story between the daughter and father to be an absolute mistake. It was so hard to care about this plot when there was something a lot more interesting happening in the background, such as the choice to have the in brutal deaths, which could have been something a lot more adrenaline-filled with more of a run-up, but instead we had a long soulless scenes of nothing. I just went to avoid spoilers. I felt myself rolling my eyes, and we ended up in another long scene in Ortega's character's room. We really could have had another offbeat Eat the Rich bloodbath film, but with the ridiculousness of unicorns. But instead, we have an odd father-daughter flick. Why? It's like they went in with that direction and got scared. I think the writers should have gone a different direction, a lot less cowardly at that. I know what you mean about the Eat the Rich formula, feeling a little bit done to death and tired in this film and not done effectively.
Also, do you know what it reminded me of? It was like Mickey 17 has just done that. About finding a creature, deciding about what to do with it. Another person saying, no, I don't think we should actually do that.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was very similar.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, thank you, Martha, for your email.
Yeah, Ryan also writes in about Death of a Unicorn and says, hello, gents. Back from Death of a Unicorn, and I found this one hard to talk about afterwards. Okay. I had fun with it, as I enjoyed the humour, but overall, it was a bit of a slog. Also, sorry, just remembered that from that previous email, from Martha's email, it is very roomy. That was my problem with it when you said it's General Ortega in her rooms. Yeah, it is. It's just a lot of rooms. Yeah. A lot. I was just get out. Get outside. Ryan goes on to say, since this is the case, I've asked AI to give me a quick, concise review in the style of Richard E. Grant. Easy the best. Oh God. Should I try? Should I do it?
You have to.
My dear inquisitive souls, gather round as I, Richard E. Grant, your flamboyant guide through the cinematic wilderness. You've got to do the laugh. You've got to laugh and offer my unvarnished musings on Death of a Unicorn. I can't do it. It's got 3 paragraphs in.
Like that way.
A film in which I play myself the delightfully odious Odell Leopold. Picture this, a dark, deranged romp through the Canadian Rockies where the air is crisp, the greed is palpable, and the unicorns, yes, unicorns are anything but the saccharine darlings of your childhood dreams. I present my take on Death of a Unicorn, though, wherein I play the loathsome Odell Leopold, Paul Rudd's humbling Elliot, and Jenna Ortega's brooding Ridley hit a unicorn. That's true. I'm just trying to see if this is just a summary of the film, or if there's actually
AI review of the film.
Okay, basically, I can't go on anymore, Ryan, in that voice, but Ryan ends the email by saying it's a 3.5 horns out of 5 for this wild, gory lark. I think that's generous of you. Cheers for always for keeping me entertained. Ryan with a rocket ship emoji. Don't know what that means. Friend of the show. We're all friends of the show.
Speaking of friends of the show, Johanna James writes in, hey lads. By the way, Johanna, your videos on the pyramids keep me going. When I'm on the toilet and I just see you passionately talk about...
That's an image. Thanks, James.
That's where I watch TikTok. Oh God, just keep fighting the good fight with those pyramids.
James loves, I learned this in Utah. James loves some pseudoscience.
I have a couple of things that I like to just like suspend my disbelief.
It's your Titanic.
The pyramid ones are so fun. If you get involved with the fact that we didn't build the pyramids, it's so much fun. And to go and check out Johanna James on TikTok. She does a whole suite of videos talking about it. That's all, Johanna. I just want to say that I'm a big fan. Love what you're doing.
I think we built them. I think it's pretty...
We did it. We're not going to get into it. We're not going to get into it. Johanna, write in about how we didn't build the pyramids.
I think saying we didn't build the pyramids is the thin end of the wedge, which ends with the Earth is flat and we don't need to be vaccinated.
No, the research based on how we didn't build the pyramids is like looking at science, whereas like the archaeology is not there. If you follow the evidence or the lack of evidence to how we built them, it leads more towards the idea that we didn't build them. Johanna James writes in and says, hey lads, I went with my best friend to the multimedia screening of A Working Man.
Oh, that's the new movie with Jason Statham.
I'm the beekeeper.
Is that David Ayer who's directed that?
People are laughing at how like Jason Statham is just like doing... He's always an occupation.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm the tax avoider.
I'm the plumber. He should have been the accountant.
I'm the valet guy.
He could never be the accountant.
I'm the accountant. Yeah,
he'd be, the doorman.
Yeah.
Or the...
When I come a knocking.
Oi, I'm the maid. I'm the custodian of this building. I'm the maintenance man.
I'm the pizza delivery driver.
Oi.
I went to a multimedia screening of A Working Man, and last year she landed a small role in a film and had a scene with Jason Statham.
Jason Statham.
We were both... He seems nice. I bet he's nice.
The Statham. Former British diving champion as well. Did you know that?
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, back in the 90s.
We were both...
Is he still dating? Rosie Huntington Whiteley.
Married
with kids.
Yeah.
Bloody family.
I know, it's great. We were both gutted to find that 90% of her dialogue was cut. Luckily, she still said 2 lines, so she'll get to keep her IMDb credit, but this sadly wasn't the case for other actors who were totally cut from the film and had no idea until they went to watch it on the big screen. Apparently, this is very common.
But I was going to say, unfortunately, I think that just isn't that the
I've spoken to actors who, you know Harvey Quinn?
Yeah.
He was in The Kitchen and was cut completely from it. And it's like, you don't get told until like the week of the premiere.
I think, I hate to,
in,
I don't want to be
Greed
like
well,
contrarian,
well.
but I'm like, I think that's just what happens. Them's the breaks. That's, you know, because they've got so much footage. It's not personal. But
it's also like,
it's not a personal decision.
Imagine you fly out and spend 3-4 weeks filming something
that you can't talk about.
You can't talk about, and then you tell people you're doing this really cool film, and you're like waiting for it, and then you're like, oh, not in it. Imagine going through the multiple process of auditions and landing the role, learning the part, what we were just saying, learning the part, performing, and then get to the end of the day and it's gone. This happens all the time in movies, and the audience are none the wiser because I don't think it's general knowledge just how much of a film is created / changed / saved in an edit.
Yeah.
I mention this because the storyline of A Working Man was so odd and had so many characters that turn up and play no real contribution to the story. There's no ABC plot lines. I sense the cutting room floor has these on. Lots of generic Russian baddies where we're given no backstory or no overarching baddie plan that gets disrupted. We left the cinema still not knowing what the Russian gangsters do apart from wearing furs and shiny tracksuits.
They're just Russian.
All the actors are acting their socks off and are well cast in the stereotypes. And then the moment Jason opens his mouth, his attempt at doing a New York accent was so unbelievably bad. The cinema was giggling. This is what I said about The Beekeeper. Why are we casting Jason Statham and asking him to do anything other than Jason Statham?
I'm trying to imagine Jason Statham doing a New York accent. It doesn't work.
I'm not saying he's as good, but in the same way that Ryan Reynolds is doing Ryan Reynolds, The Rock will do The Rock. There are a class of actors. You can even argue Tom Cruise is doing Tom Cruise at this point. There are a certain class of actors. It's not about quality. It's about their established presence in cinema
and brand, knowing their bandwidth.
Even Jack Nicholson to an extent. Hugh Grant.
Don't get Hugh Grant to do an American accent. No.
Just you've got Statham. It's a Jason Statham film. That's all I need to know. Yeah. I don't care if he's in America. Just write back when I was in the UK, and then it's done.
Sorted.
And then I'm sorted. Don't get him to do an American
Ricky Gervais trying to do an American accent.
No,
same thing. Like
no, just let Statham be Statham. There we are. I've had similar giggling. If you're a fan of Jason Statham movies, you'll probably like this. As a take your brain out cheesy action. I was left wondering how the hell this man became a leading man and feeling a little disgusted at the industry for pedestaling someone who hasn't got the acting chops. I think that's accent work there.
Yeah. Also,
go see Crank.
I'm just doing this because you're a friend of the show. It's pedestalling, but you've put pedal stalling like a car, like a car.
My faith in the film industry was further battered when I went to see Snow White, a film we haven't seen but heard enough about. We talked about it briefly in emails yesterday. Yes. My expectations were low, but in all caps, oh my God, this movie is bad. But not even in the so bad it's enjoyable and funny way, just really, really technically awful. I could spot instantly the scenes which were later reshoots because Snow White suddenly had on a wig. And I shit you not, all the scenes are standing in the woods talking or singing. 70% of this movie is reaction shots to someone talking about the same repeated things. It's painful. It felt like if AI had a baby with an SNF parody sketch. Ugh. Gal Gadot is teeth-crunchingly cringe. You can tell she thinks she's smashing it. Rachel Zegler is actually carrying the whole thing on her back, but she can actually act and sing. The CGI is uncanny valley. Characters and plot points just appear and disappear due to the really obvious cut and paste of the whole nightmare. It made me want to see the original edit so bad as Greta Gerwig wrote it, but then obviously Disney got cold feet when the news broke it would be a inverted commas woke retelling. They snipped anything risky out and replaced it with basic kids party entertainment style dialogue. If I was a Disney exec, I would not only commission exact replicas of the original animation, the entire plot is about nostalgia and seeing your childhood cartoon characters being brought to life with the closest as possible casting and costume matches. This is why Lilo and Stitch trailer has got so much love and excitement as they've stayed faithful to the original IP. Have a smashing week. Sirens on my end. Johanna. I think there's something comforting here in that the narrative of why this is bad is not about necessarily its take on the story. It's that it seems technically to be a poor film.
I think it's devoid of all merit in that respect. It's just technically poorly made. It is at least one nice thing that the saving grace is that everyone says, actually Rachel Ziegler is the best thing in it.
Yeah.
Because she is a good actor.
She's been getting a lot of slick. I've seen like some horrible videos of her, like the sort of Hollywood Reporter chasing her from a building to a car, being like, Rachel, how does it feel to have crashed the Snow White franchise? Like, how are you reacting to this?
So,
it's like,
it's all tied. I think we should talk off air about it because it's all tied up in sort of political stuff. But like,
we mentioned it last week.
Well, yeah, because it's not like, but her comment, it was, basically the thing at the moment they're saying is that it wasn't to do with her comments about when she said, "Oh, this is like the girl boss" or whatever she said 2 years ago. It's people are saying this. Apparently, the producers are saying because she posted "Free Palestine" on her thing, they then went out and said, that's why people aren't seeing this movie. Because you've tweeted your free speech and then that's a lot theory, that's the theory, and then the internet have said well no, because like the film's shit. Like that's why nobody likes it, because the film's shit.
Zoom out. The film is
but
probably
the producers
shit.
are like it's been a box office flop because you threw your mouth out politically, and other people are like, oh no, the film's shit.
Yeah.
The audience that you're targeting don't feel as strongly about all that as you guys do.
Thank you, Johanna, for your email and for your amazing Pyramid Theory videos as well.
Nicholas writes in about Adolescence, still a very popular show on Netflix, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Adolescence and how my personal perspective changed. Do you mean how my personal perspective has changed? This is all written in bold as well, so I think it's really important.
Possible to
Dear
ignore.
James and George and James, I've recently become a father. My daughter is now 9 months old. Congratulations. This massive life change for my wife and I has altered our perspective on characters and plots in TV and film where kids are involved, of course. Some things are difficult to watch and relatable on a whole new level. For example, in Speak No Evil, the way James McAvoy treats the children he
I started doing it for you.
Yeah. We find stuff so shocking, whereas we normally take stuff in our stride. Then drops Adolescence. I know it affected people in a lot of different ways, but oh my God. Being a parent, this has taken on a whole new perspective. There is a question to go with this. Is there any major life event that has made you see things differently in TV and film? Hopefully that's not too personal. I guess you might not want to read this out. I've been a fan for a while now. Keep doing what you're doing. I would have skipped over so many good films if it wasn't for your personal recommendations and reviews. Nick from the North, Carlisle, and he sent a picture of him watching us on a big TV screen
with both photos of his child watching both of us.
Yes.
Just in case we were going, well, that's you. Where's the picture of me?
He knows us so well. It's nice to know that our youngest audience member is present.
I know. I feel bad. We should just. I always like to see when people post pictures of us on their living room TV.
Yeah.
Because I'm always assuming like phone.
Yeah. If they're watching at all.
If they're watching at all. Thank you for watching if you do watch.
We
edit a long video.
The thing is about being 30, which we both are, which is that we're still just, give it 20 years.
For what?
Well, because he was like, have there been any major life events and stuff? And I'm like,
I'd say owning a dog makes it very difficult to watch anything to do with the dog. That was a big before and after for me.
I think at the moment it's anything to do with friendships I really find resonate with me a lot. This is why I think I got a lot out of Bridget Joseph 4, specifically towards the end where it's like a shot, there's like a moment they have the four friends together, and I'm like, I think we're at that age where like friendships are changing.
They become older.
You've known people for longer, so when you've really known someone for a long time, you really have a greater emotional resonance with them.
Yeah, and they were there that time.
Yeah, and like that's what matters. So I think to answer your question, that's what I'd say.
This next one is from Madison, who writes in with subject line, Society of the Snow inspired my trip to the Andes. I mean, that's crazy. That would just...
So
I'm not flying over there.
For those who don't remember, Society of the Snow was a film that came out beginning of last year, based on the true story of the Uruguayan rugby team who got stuck in the Andes. A film I think we both really liked, and it was kind of in my long list for some of the best films I saw last year.
As on YouTube as one of our breakout review clips. I think it's like one of our fourth or fifth most popular videos. There's clearly like people who want seeking out reviews of that.
And I would actually say, if someone was to say what are some of the best films that Netflix has put out, like that is a Netflix film, I'd be like, that actually is a really bloody good film. Yeah. So anyway, so that's what this film is about. Madison is writing in about that film.
Madison goes on to say, hey, James and George, brackets, George and Chase. We don't talk enough about how people are really diplomatic with that, but I really don't think we care.
I appreciate the joke.
And we read it out every single week. It's like people want to write it just in case it's like an issue. And when we cut, it's like, can't believe they put your name first.
Yeah. We go home, we think about it on the train.
It's like we're really immature or insecure. Hi, James and George and James. My name is Madison, and I'm from Colorado. I'm a long-time listener, but this is my first time emailing in. I recently had a very cool experience that was motivated by my love for the 2023 film Society of the Snow, italicized. And I thought you and the Sirens might like to hear about it. I first watched Society of the Snow, italicized, in February of last year, and was not only blown away by the film, but I also became enamored with the story itself. I began reading books and watching documentaries about the 1972 Miracle of the Andes incident and the survivors. And I've consistently recommended Society of the Snow to multiple friends and family members. Yeah, it's a really easy recommendation, isn't it?
Well, it's, yeah.
Is it not easy to watch? Where I'm like, people might not have seen it.
Yes.
And they'll come out of it being like, oh my God, this is great.
Yes.
I didn't know this was a thing, which makes it a good recommendation. As a Coloradan, I'm, of course, an avid hiker, and in April of last year, I signed up to join an excursion to the crash site in the Andes.
Whoa.
With a group led by mountaineer Ricardo Peña. Ricardo was the first person to climb to the plane's impact point at the crest of the Andes in 2005, where he found a coat with a passport in the pocket belonging to survivor Eduardo Strauch.
Wow.
Ricardo contacted Eduardo in order to return the coat and soon became friends with him and met all 16 of the survivors. He now leads yearly expeditions to the crash site in Argentina, accompanied by Eduardo, who is now in his late 70s.
Wow.
That is amazing. I just returned home from this excursion today on March 15th, and it was, all caps, incredible.
So she's got on the excursion. Wow.
That is really, really cool. Our group spent 4 days hiking and riding horses to a base camp in the Andes, 8,000 feet, and then 8,000 feet high, and then onto the crash site at about 12,000 feet. I got the chance to make several new friends, to challenge myself physically, to experience the stunning beauty and remoteness of the mountains. The most incredible part was being able to meet Eduardo and hear from him directly about his experience during the 72 days he was on the mountain. Wow. He was kind and welcoming to our group, very open and honest, and it was inspiring to encounter someone who had such a gratitude for life. I'm an American in my 20s who has not had to experience much suffering or hardship in my life, so seeing a glimpse of Eduardo's story put a lot of things into perspective for me. It was a truly unforgettable experience. With all that being said, I have a question. Have you ever been impacted by a film in a way that extends beyond emotional impact? Has film ever inspired a new hobby or course of action in your life, encouraged you to think about your circumstances in a new way, or open the door to a new topic of interest and research? That is what Society of the Snow did for me, and I just find it so cool to see how art and entertainment can have such lasting effects on people's real lives. Sorry for the long email. I'd love to hear your thoughts, though. All the best, Madison. Madison,
Wow.
That's amazing. That sounds like an amazing expedition. What incredible access to someone who is there.
Also, from his point of view, Eduardo's point of view, what an interesting way of reconciling what was a massive trauma in your life, to actually not just ignore it and bury it, to actually like return to it, make a new thing out of it. With other people.
I mean, there's lots of questions there. So, inspired a hobby or course of action in your life, and encourage, open the door to a new topic of interest and research. I'd say there are so many examples where like films subtly, infer my interest in like, things like history and periods of time.
Music is a big obvious example for me.
Yeah, music, obviously. Like, even like when we were talking about watching like the early seasons of The Crown, how much it reignited my interest in like British political history, and like the prime ministers are so well done in that. You're like, yes, of course, and you start reading more into it and going through those moments of time, and it recreates a day of history in the UK in the 50s, 60s, 70s, so on. You're like, yes, like that's a thing I really want to know more about now.
I think I'm struggling to find a tangible example, but other than music, which for me is a really good thing, where like I realized recently that like I was thinking about 500 Days of Summer, right, which is a film I haven't watched in ages, right? But I also realized that film got me into, I think, 4 artists in like a big way, which was Simon and Garfunkel, The Smiths, Hall & Oates, and Regina Spektor.
It's a great soundtrack.
A great soundtrack.
The making of that film, in a way.
Because I draw it back to, I'm like, I hadn't really listened to any of those bands until I saw that film when I was 17, and that's great. And I just didn't realize that actually that's the origin, and when now I've engaged them so much. Thank you very much for that email, Madison. That was great. Thank you for all your emails. And just a reminder that if you are a member of the VIP tier on Patreon and above, you get priority access to have your email read out on the show.
I would just say, thinking now about open the door to a new topic of interest and research, I would sort of owe my career filming things to my love of cinema. That all stems from enjoying films and things being pretty. We wouldn't be doing this. Things being pretty with cameras, and now like being very interested
make things look good,
make things look nice with things like they're all just big toys, but like. I wouldn't, I think, be interested in what I do now if it wasn't for my love for cinema as a child. And now, like, I can get quite interested in like specific minutiae of cinema and who's doing. Like, I love listening to cinematographers talk for an hour about really nitty gritty things that maybe if you don't have a certain technical vocabulary, it might not be as engaging to you, but I could just like lap it up, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. I like this. I really do find this interesting. And then you see the finished product. It comes to see that for me. Okay, George, as always, Pulp Kitchen ends
with a game.
If you are new to Pulp Kitchen, we end every single episode of Pulp Kitchen with a bit of movie trivia, a thought exercise sometimes, but there's always something to give you a little bit of a brain tickle or to leave you thinking about something. Last week, you did a really fun which A24 film do you prefer? And it got a lot of people talking on social media. I was favouring The Brutalist, Zone of Interest in Past Lives, but there was a long time where it was just The Brutalist. The Brutalist. And so I thought, this is great. Let's bring up a load of films and figure out where you sit with them. Okay. So, did you know, George, that we are a quarter way through the 21st century?
Okay.
And I wanted to know, which Best Picture winner from the 21st century do you prefer?
Okay.
So I'm going to read them out.
So are you going to do it like last week where like one stays if it's...
Yes, so if you that will hold until the next film comes, and then that will be the film that you hold. So while we're not comparing every Best Picture winner from the 21st century with each other, we should, by the end of this, technically have your favourite Best Picture winner from 2025. And like, do you know what that is? Are we going to find out what that is? We're going to find out what that is. So, George, without further ado... which Best Picture winner from the 21st century do you prefer? Gladiator or A Beautiful Mind?
Gladiator.
Gladiator or Chicago?
Gladiator.
Gladiator or Lord of the Rings Return of the King?
Gladiator.
Gladiator or $1 Million Baby?
Gladiator.
Gladiator or Crash?
Gladiator.
Gladiator or The Departed?
The Departed.
The Departed or No Country for Old Men?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or Slumdog Millionaire?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or The Hurt Locker?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or The King's Speech?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or The Artist?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or Argo?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or 12 Years a Slave?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or Birdman?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or Spotlight?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or Moonlight?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or The Shape of Water?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or Green Book?
No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men or Parasite?
Parasite.
Parasite or Nomadland?
Parasite.
Parasite or Coda?
Parasite.
Parasite or Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Parasite.
Parasite or Oppenheimer?
Parasite.
Parasite or Anora?
Parasite.
Interesting. I'm not saying with Anora, I like the way that all turned out. So No Country for Old Men held for a while.
The thing is about No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. I watched it again for the fourth time
really
recently. It is like an all-timer. So it was always going to beat those other ones. And I do think there are a couple of weak points in there with the Best Pictures, obviously like Green Book.
Yeah.
Anora, I've only seen it once and it's very recent.
You stopped on Oppenheimer. That could maybe be one of your favourite Best Picture winners of the 21st century.
Because I really like it. Yeah. And the benefit with Oppenheimer is that I've seen it twice. So I know the second time I really got a lot out of it. I have only seen Parasite once, but I really loved it.
Parasite, 12 Years a Slave, you hovered at, and Moonlight, you hovered at.
Yeah, because they're great movies.
Well, there you go. I reckon I could have agreed with you. I might have gone Chicago over Gladiator. And then I think I would have I maybe would have held on to The Departed. Departed versus No Country for Old Men. They're so different, but they're both really good. And I reckon in another one, I would have held on to The Departed until like Parasite? I don't know.
But here's the thing, like, I haven't seen A Beautiful Mind. I haven't seen $1 Million Baby for like 20 years. I haven't seen Crash for about 20 years. Lord of the Rings obviously didn't count. For me, I haven't seen. The Hurt Locker I've only seen once. Now, The Hurt Locker I watched when I was about 15. Now, I don't know if I watched it 15. So like, I'm sure now watching it as a 30-year-old, I get much more of a reaction and response out of it. I like Catherine Bigelow's films more now.
Yeah.
Like, that's where Jeremy Renner and Anthony Mackie had their big breaks.
Do you like how I did it? I wasn't going to do it in order, and then I thought I liked the way the order went. I was going to scramble it, and I was like, I think there's something interesting about doing it in order.
I've told you. Sorry.
No, I think there's an interesting run between The Shape of Water to Green Book to Parasite to Nomadland to Coda. Apart from Parasite, it's a bit of like a wibbly one for me.
Do you know what's funny about when I watched No Country for Old Men recently? We got to the end of it, and Anna was like, "It's not her kind of film anyway," but she was like, she was like, she found it really slow, and I said, "That's so interesting because I find every single scene really gripping."
Right. Right.
I think there's so much in No Country for Old Men that's really tense. And I'm aware, watching it again, it's Roger Deakins, how much of the storytelling is just purely visual and how much it's just telling you in the silences. Like the whole scene at the beginning where Josh Brolin discovers the Mexican cartel showdown that's gone wrong with all the bodies. It's just quiet and it's purely visual. And I think if you're watching it, also watched it 9:30 on a Friday, I think people were starting to wane a little bit. But I rate that very much.
Yeah. There you go, guys. That was a nice little interesting one. Maybe I should go back and do 25 years from 75.
Any category of films.
Yes,
works.
you can literally do any category. I also had an idea where we could do actors versus. So, for example, I could do Tom Cruise's films and Matt Damon's films, and I read a Tom Cruise film and a Matt Damon film, but like if you hold the Tom Cruise film as being better, I go to the next Matt Damon film until you like that Matt Damon film and I go down to I think that could be a good idea.
I did one with Anna recently, which started
actors with big
asking which actors she found more attractive, and I started with Sterling K. Brown, and I ended up going through every single male actor. And I think it ended with Jonathan Bailey came out on top. I'm talking over.
Such a recency bias, Anna. Come on.
No, she's met Jonathan Bailey 7 years ago.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay,
thank
so
you.
I take it all back.
Yeah, thank you. Some of us also watched him in Broadchurch, James, on the 4th of March 2013. It was a Monday. By the way, I had so much good reactions to that video of me doing the camera. That so many people were like, "Sorry, George, excuse me." Yeah, it happened in LA, by the way, as well. We were just like chatting, and I just said to someone, "Say a date." Go on, say a date.
Say a date. How many drinks are you in?
Say a date.
Say a date.
And I did it. And then, do you know what? People's reaction is always the same. It's never like, whoa, or like, they just go, oh, nice. Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
An average pub trick.
It's quicker to look on your phone to find the date.
Yeah, but it's still impressive. That's the thing. That's why your skill's not. That's why you don't have a career out of your skill. It's a fun observation, but it's not going to take you anywhere.
No, it's a product of the way my mind works and just how I visualize things. Anyway, that was episode 175 of Pulp Kitchen. Please,
we're at our quarter quell for the 100.
Spinning. Sorry,
we're at our quarter quell. For the 200.
That's from the Hunger Games, but what defines a quell?
25, a quarter.
What's a quell? A century?
I never thought about it. That's what when it's the 75th Hunger Games.
Oh, so it's it's our 100th quarter quell.
It's what I'm saying it is.
What did you say it was?
You said it's episode 175. I'm like, yeah, it's a quarter quell.
I see.
And because we're at increments of 25, which is a quarter of 100. We're going to get to 200.
You can tell it's the end of our recording session.
I guess I'm building hype for episode 200, whatever shape or form it takes.
Thank you for joining us, guys. Stay tuned for later this week for my details and tales from Hollywood. Until then, thank you to our producers, Finn and Dave.
Thank you.
Have a great week, guys. All the best.
Bye-bye.